This video in no way claims that any one specific economy will happen in the future. It is pure conjecture of what might possibly happen, given the information available today. Is the currency system of the Antichrist already here? This video came about as the result of thinking about the biblical mark of the beast. This mystery has been speculated upon for over 2,000 years. How close are we to its literal fulfillment? It suddenly occurred to me that not only is it a mark, there is something else to it, which we may never have considered before. Is it possible we've overlooked something? The Bible says the future mark is Antichrist's number, his name, and most importantly based on a system of buying and selling. In this video, a suggestion is put forward. It does not say which currency will be used in our economic future, but only what it might be. Or there are many who are already aware what this currency is. The elites of the world, presidents, bankers, members of secret brotherhoods. The scenario for a worldwide currency collapse. I saw a black horse, and its rider was holding a pair of scales. A voice from among the four living beings said, "A loaf of bread, or 3 loaves of barley for a day's pay, and don't touch the oil or the wine." Revelation chapter 6. This verse is talking about inflation, which is predicted to get to a point which happened in Germany in 1923. Have you ever seen old film of people wheeling barrows full of paper money, just to buy a loaf of bread? This verse anticipates when a day's wage will barely buy enough food to survive. German society was destroyed to the point that within 10 years, a full-blown dictatorship in Adolf Hitler was seen as the only solution. This will happen again. All global monetary systems, are currencies that many believe, are well overdue for replacement. This is because of constant worldwide inflation, and the repeated practice of the printing of cash. But the old idea that printing money is still the way to solve economic problems needs to be reconsidered. What new thing could move the world toward strengthening its currency voluntarily? Germany. Germany does not rely on borrowing, much less printing money to balance its books. When it joined the Eurozone, the Deutsche Mark was the strongest currency in Europe, and appreciated against all other currencies. The writings on the wall for the euro. Europe is heading into a perfect storm. Macroscope by David Brown, published the 13th of February 2017. When it comes, it will happen swiftly. Germany's Deutsche Mark could make a surprise return. Michel Santi, an economist writing for Le Rendezvous on the 27th of May 2019, said the only way to stimulate the economy in Europe would be to reintroduce the Deutsche Mark. The crisis was inscribed in the very genes of the euro. Will a revived Deutsche Mark save the world? Are the banks betting on a Deutsche Mark return? The indomitable rise of German bond prices shows little sign of abating. Some believe it's not just Germany's safe haven status that is so alluring, but more that it could exit the euro and return to the Deutsche Mark in the future. Is the world growing weary of the old paper system? Has it got to the point where it's ready to accept a new one? Deutsche E-Mark cryptocurrency. Consider that the Deutsche E-Mark is already here, but not functioning as a dominant worldwide currency yet. A coming global leader will impose a mark on everyone, speculated to be a microchip, having the technology to buy and sell, like a touch-screen debit card. Could this currency be the Deutsche E-Mark? This may not be as far-fetched as you think. And he requires everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to be given a mark on his right hand or on his forehead, and that no one can buy or sell, unless they had the mark. Revelation chapter 13 verses 16 to 17. A cashless currency will come to the world 3.5 years before Jesus returns to earth to set up his kingdom. Not only will there be a mark of the beast, but will it also include the name of the digital economy familiar to the world today? Is it possible that the Deutsche E-Mark will be the currency embedded into the microchip? The word mark is used in Revelation chapter 13 verse 17. The original Greek word for mark is charagma and means something imprinted or impressed into or onto the skin. Properly, it's an engraving or etching, and figuratively a mark providing undeniable identification, like a symbol that connects people together. An engraving tool called a carex was used. A stamp or imprinted mark. A mark branded on horses. A carved thing, or an idolatrous image. The Deutsche Elektronische Mark or Deutsche Mark is already a digital currency, called the E-Mark, or maybe the Mark for short, when or if it becomes the global economy. If anyone worships the beast and its image and receives a mark on his forehead or on his hand, he also will drink the wine of God's wrath, poured full strength into the cup of his anger, and he will be tormented with fire and sulfur in the presence of the holy angels, and in the presence of the Lamb. Revelation chapter 14, 9-10. The prophet Daniel foresaw the emergence of 4 great empires or beasts. Daniel 7, 1-7. After that, in my vision at night I looked, and there before me was a 4th beast, terrifying and frightening and very powerful. It had large iron teeth, it crushed and devoured its victims and trampled underfoot whatever was left. The last empire would be Rome. Imperial Rome is now a name in history, but its system isn't dead. In the final 3.5 years before Jesus returns, it will revive in a more terrifying manner. The First Reich was its first regeneration with Emperor Caesar or Kaiser. The Second Reich with its Caesar or Kaiser was defeated with the First World War. It revived once more as the Third Reich in the Second World War. The eagle symbol remained. What are the common features of a fascist regime? It creeps upon a society slowly over decades, with the erosion of democracy and the struggle for freedom of expression. Increased police authority, violence, oppression and inflation. Those who disagree and protest against the accepted narrative are silenced. When it reaches a crisis point, the brainwashed masses will demand an authoritarian leadership, and this will be the moment for Antichrist to step forward. History will repeat itself again. For the mark to be implemented, the world must undergo a process of compliance. First, the general population must be subdued to the point when taking a microchip mark will be no big deal. 2020 saw global lockdown, social distancing, face masks, vaccinations and of course, the protesters were dealt with also. The world has got used to doing what it's told. The mark will be taken as an act of worship to Satan and his image. People will know what they are bowing down to, and make their choice. Either the true God in heaven, or Satan. It will not be taken by accident or in ignorance. There will be no escape for them when they are cast into the lake of fire. This judgment certainly sounds very harsh, but Jesus died a terrible death on the cross, to save you from the lake of fire, if you will turn to Him. But for those who refuse to take the mark, their reward is great when Christ returns. They will live and reign with Him on earth for 1,000 years. For God so loved the world, that He gave His only Son, that whoever believes in Him will not perish but have everlasting life. God did not send His Son into the world to condemn it, but that it might be saved through Him. John chapter 3, 6 and 7.